What's happening in the canine industry? For all the latest news, views, and expert opinions, stay right here for the Canine Paradigm. You'll hear from industry leaders, experts, doyens of the industry, learned colleagues, movers and shakers, and the odd randy guest. Get the latest insights and expert advice from both here and abroad from the people in the know. Now, here are your hosts, Glenn Cooke and Pat Stuart. And I'm Lofty Fulton, and I'm out of here.
Hey, Glenn, I reckon it's time for a new ad.
Do you reckon? We just went 14 months with the old one.
We don't even have sponsors anymore, so it probably was a good thing to take it down.
I think they just got so sick of it.
Yeah. So we've decided to no longer take sponsors on the show. The main reason being it comes with a level of admin that we're just not prepared to do.
Yes.
And we want to bring you good dog training information. So there's really only two things that we're interested in telling you about before you come into the show. First one being Canine Paradigm. Glenn, hit us with the details.
Thousands of customers, mainly in Australia and in the USA. We'd love to get in other places around the world, which I think will be on the list. We've got 5-star reviews to the galore. We've had skeptics, people who just don't believe products such as Canine Paradigm can do anything for their dogs. They've tried it. They've come back and they've said it works. It's made a massive change, or it's made a mild change, or it's made a change. That was one of the things Narelle was always working towards. She makes sure she does the science. She likes to peer review everything she's trying to do as much as possible. These things aren't just done by chance. She has done a lot of work, a lot of prep getting it to where it is. Extremely proud of her for all the effort that she's put behind it. Not just because she's my wife, not just because it's our business or her business, but because it works and it's done what it says it's going to do, and it's at such a great level as well. So if you're looking for something to improve the health and well-being of your dogs, you can't go past Canine Paradigm. Check it out online, caninesurgicals.com.au.
I love it. I, this year, am changing the way that I teach. I am an educator. It's what I love to do, and I've been trying to find the best way to do that. And in 2026, I'm launching a subscription service. In the past, people have had to buy my courses. You own them outright or you own them for a period. And that has been great, except that it does cut some people out because of the high price point that they can't get in on, where a subscription service allows people to come in. So if you want to check out what I'm doing this year, there's a ton of really high quality information, as well as community forums, live calls, and all that kind of stuff within the Serious Dog Business community that I've launched. There'll be links in the show notes, or you can jump onto the school platform and search Serious Dog Business. You'll find me there.
Let's just remind people that if they do want to support our show, they can head over to Patreon. We always do a wrap up at the end of the show, but Patreon keeps the lights on. If you want to support us, this is the only financial way that the Canine Paradigm gets a cash influx. Our government takes half of it, being in Australia. That's what they like to do. Nonetheless, we have exceedingly appreciated your support. People like Buffhead, the Sugar Mama, massive shout out to them because they were huge supporters of the show. And also, as I've said in my one-man band show that I did just before this, George Kittredge, loving memory of you as well. Thanks for your patronage as well.
All right, let's do it. Welcome back to the Canine Paradigm. I'm your host, Pat Stuart, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Glenn Cooke. Hello, sir.
Oh, hoi, hoi, sailor.
How are you?
I'm well. You wanted to have a bit of a shout out on something that you got from a friend that you were doing a little social media clip.
Not a friend, mate. I've been had the funniest couple of days. So some bloke, his name's Pete, and he's an ex-cop. They contacted me on Instagram. If I'm honest, not bragging, but I'm kind of popular. But like, I get loads of people like, hey, can you shout out this product and shit? And like, typically I don't even see it. And I don't do collaborations of any kind with people. If I like a product, I tell people about it, but I don't want to sell fucking stuff, and I don't want to be anyone's boy, right? Like promoting shit. So old mate says he's got these special dog shit bags. It's his company called Urban Dog. And so I was like, the first thing that came to my mind was, I was like, what a baller move to start your own dog shit bag company. Because like, to me, I've never once thought about, where am I buying my next batch of dog shit bags? Like, they're just a transient thing. I get them where I get them. I've never really thought about it. So old mate says he wants to send me some dog shit bags. So he does. And I make funny stories. But what was funny was the feedback that I got, right? Because, I'm like, how on earth do you do a dog shit bag review, right? Like, what do you do other than pick up the shit with it, right? I'd be like, yeah, I've picked up the shit. So I'm walking Sundance. He takes the shit. I'm like, oh, here I go. Right?
Yeah.
I set up my camera.
You look so stilted while you were doing it. Like,
well, because I got no control over this dog, mate. I got no control. So where was I? I was in like Kensington because I met a friend for lunch and had the dog with me. And then I'm walking down the street. So like this 10-month-old dog, I've got no control over him, right? He's dragging me everywhere we go still currently. So when he takes a shit and then I'm trying to talk to camera and I'm trying to not get pulled over by him because I can't like tell him to sit or something like I can with a trained dog and keep him under control. So I'm trying not to get pulled into the shit while I'm trying to pick up the shit. But what cracked me up was the feedback that I got when people were like, oh, you did that wrong. And I was like, there's no wrong. I got to tell you, like, so the dog shit went into the dog shit bag.
Yeah.
Correct?
Is there a magic technique or a community standard of picking up poo? Like, tell us about it.
Yeah. Numerous people told me that they turned the bag inside out. So these bags have skull and crossbones on them, right?
Yep.
Like that's their point of difference. They're completely biodegradable. I mean, I'll shout the guy out, right? Urban Dog, URBN, I think is their thing. Urban Dog. It's just an Australian company. Check them out if you need dog shit bags with skull and crossbones on them. They're a dog shit bag and they hold dog shits, right? But I think it's pretty cool to start a company like that. But the pattern is only on the outside, obviously. And so when I picked up the first turd and I turned it inside out, then it's just a black bag, right? And you can't one of their things is that it's a black bag. You don't have to see the shit. But the amount of people that commented saying, oh no, that's not how you do it. I turned the bag inside out and then grabbed the shit so that the bag goes the right way around. And I was like, unnecessary. Like I don't know that I've ever done that. Like I don't care about the printing on the bag. Even these ones now with fancy skull and crossbone, if that ends up on the inside, well, that's just how it goes. Like I'm not adding an extra step of turning the bag inside out prior to picking it up. But quite a number of people like said, oh no, you've done that wrong. This is how I do it. So I thought that was interesting. Do you turn the bag inside out or are you just pick it up straight away guy?
No, I open it. I stick my hand inside it. I grab the turd and I pull the turd into the bag and then I do it up. I think if you've listened to us long enough, I've had a philosophy, use what works. It's not my own. Yep, it works. It's fault-free. I don't get shit on my fingers. Happy days. And Narelle's got a whole bunch of Canine Pharmaceuticals ones that she brought over and she gives them away at the Dog Lovers show and all those sort of things.
So she's got branded dog
She's got
bags
branded
that
Canine Pharmaceuticals shit bag. So yeah, she'll chuck them in orders and I give bunches of them away. So if I'm doing something and doing a talk or anything like that, I'll give them to staff and I'll give them to people that I'm doing talks for councils and all sorts of stuff. So I just take them as a present, say, hey, this is from Narelle. Enjoy. Pick up shit. Let me watch you pick up a dog poo. Oh, you're doing it wrong. Oh, you got the bag the wrong way.
But mate, that cracked me up. When I put it as a story and like my thing blew up, or I didn't even look at all. I couldn't even look at all the messages. There was people like commenting on my technique for picking up dog shit. But it is a thing, I guess, that everybody has their own style.
My uncle, he was a plumber in his trade. I'd go out on job sites with him and watch him do plumbing. And at one stage, I was going to be a plumber with him. He was going to get back in the trade because he used to be a rep for a period of time, but then he was going to go back to plumbing and I was going to be his apprentice. I used to go out and watch him do little jobs and we'd do things together and he'd teach me about drainage and hydraulics and all that sort of stuff. He was my idol. I just used to love everything about him. So I used to pick his brains on something and I said, oh, that was really good, Uncle Lee. That was so good. And he go, mate, let me just tell you something about life so you're not disappointed later on. He goes, no matter how good you do, there's always going to be somebody who tells you you're not doing it the right way. And that was back in like the 1980s. So that's why I laugh about it because even with the poo bag thing with you telling me that story, there's always somebody there to tell you, hey, it's not right. And now with the evolution of the internet, we see millions of people doing that. Like, oh, that's not the way you do it, you fucking clown. Which reminds me of a meme where there's a big fat guy with a great big belly with a bowl of Cheetos or something like that balanced on top of his belly watching somebody fail at an Olympic level sports thing. And he goes, oh, you fucking loser. That's the type of person that does that. So to those type of people, I just say, listen, mate, don't yuck my yum. Just get on with your life and go fuck yourself.
Love that saying. Don't yuck my.
Before we get on the main topic, we're actually quite fortunate and spoilt for like all the little gifts and presents that people periodically send us over. I'm pretty sure you do too. I get a lot of people sending me T-shirts, like club T-shirts or business T-shirts and stuff like that. So I've told people, like, you know, they'll message me and go, hey, would you wear my T-shirt or would you like one? I said, hey, man, if you send me a T-shirt, by the way, XL, if you want to send me a T-shirt. But if you want to send me a T-shirt, of course I'll wear it. Absolutely. I've got T-shirts that I've worn them so much, I've worn the print out of them. And I mean, most of the T-shirts now, when I look in my T-shirt stack, are other people's business T-shirts, you know, like there's an abundance of them. And even as, you know, judging PSA trials, I've collected a bunch of club T-shirts that I wear proudly around as well. So yeah, absolutely. I feel honored and blessed that people send me a little thing to test. The one that I was just showing you, I've got a nice young lady at work by the name of Chantel, and she's got a company that her and her partner do called Alpha Canine Gear, and they sell collars. Alpha Canine Gear, it says on the stamp. And they've got lots of large dog collars that they sell on their website. Have you got the website up? And do you know what their website is?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
What's the actual web address?
Alpha Canine Gear, k9gear.com.au.
Yeah, they gave me a couple of collars to test out, and I brought them home and fitted them up on Mando, and they look absolutely fantastic. So they've got tactical styles with the Cobra clips. They've got large, thick collars. One's got a really nice olivey sort of bronzy color to it. They've got leather padded collars. They look fantastic. So, I mean, I know there's lots of collars on the market and there's lots of people who do good jobs. They were very nice and they just said, hey, would you mind testing these on Mando and like see what they're like? Do you like them? Give us feedback if there's something that you don't like, something that you would rather see different on them. They're looking to learn. So far, so good. Like they're very adjustable. They're nice and strong. I literally only got these not long ago, so I'm still playing with them. I'm still fiddling with them. I'm always trying to encourage people, support local businesses like you made at Urban Canine Gear or whatever he's called. What's his name? What's his business name?
Urban Dog, URBN, Pete Urban Dog.
Yeah.
URBN, I think. Dog shit bags with skull and crossbone on them. They're cool.
Yeah. There we go. Shout outs.
We've done it. For the people that gave us gifts during the week, we've done it.
Yep, we've done it.
You had something to talk about?
I do have something to talk about. What I wanted to know is, obviously you're doing consults. I'm doing consults. We're still, we're back on the tools. Both of us are actually doing a lot of on the tools work at the moment. I literally was running late for this podcast because I did a private lesson down in Madawi near Newcastle. And, I was flying back and the time just got away from me. So I had to message you and just say, hey, I'm running a little bit behind time. But one of the points that I did want to make is that there's a lot of things that people are telling us about their dogs, their life with their dogs, their family dog, their working dog, their dog issue, their puppy raising techniques. So what I wanted to ask you, what are some of the more common things that people are coming to you and saying, hey, Pat, this is something that I need clarity on?
Yeah. In my space, in the working and sport dog space that I'm fortunate enough to work in, the biggest issue I see is people not knowing what to do outside the sessions. Like, what do you do with the dog for the rest of the time? That's the biggest problem. And that is the hardest part of the puzzle to solve, I reckon. Like, it's something I'm experiencing right now, new dog. It's been a long time since I've had a personal dog that is learning 24/7, my two dogs are old and I've had plenty of dogs stay with me, bored or to be trained or come to me for lessons and stuff like that. And it's just like, here's the dog, here's the problem, fix the problem. And so we do that. And then you hand the dog back to the person and now the problem doesn't exist. But what do you do in the rest of the time? That's where I see people struggling the most, especially in raising puppies. It's like, okay, like I know what to do in sessions. I know how to train the things that the dog needs to learn, but what do I do for the other 23 and a half hours a day, right? Like, what does the routine look like? What do they have access to? How much time should I be spending with them versus leaving them in the crate or the pen or stuff like that? So like, it's the space between the sessions is where I think most people struggle, the lifestyle-based stuff, not the training-based stuff.
Mate, that's a very good point, actually. I know I brought this dog up before, and it's a dog that I saw in Thailand that's owned by Moo and Nikki. The dog's name's Bullet. He's probably one of the best working dogs that I've seen for a lot of reasons. Hard hitter, very impressive, obedient, like just an incredible dog. They got him from a guy in the UK called Tom Brightman, and I think that's the correct way to say his name. I wish Tommy would coach people in training dogs. He's got a PSA 3 dog. He's on his way to getting his second PSA 3 dog. Like anything he puts his hand to, that fucking man is turning into gold. He's a real dog man. Him and Asa Wright are really good people. They they're very, very, very talented people. Moo and Nikki bought this dog off him, Bullet. One of the things that makes him a very impressive dog, and I'm not just talking about his workability, is this dog can just fuck around and be a family dog and coexist in their lives in between, and Moo's got reel after reel after reel after reel of that dog interacting with little babies, playing with other dogs, just being a social pet, living inside her bedrooms, sleeping next to the bed, doing all like food experiments. So in between his working life of being this on-field brute, like when you see him, you go, oh, holy shit, want to keep it clear from that dog. Total opposite. He's like, we've done the work stuff now. Let me be a dog. I know it's easy for me to say this when it's been a lot of decades and he's gone for a long time, but Harley was very much like that too. And I think one reason my heart is melting over this dog a bit is he really reminds me of Harley. Harley could be a fucking warlord in his work, but in between that, he was like, no, I'm done with that. I just want to fucking be a dog now. And because I was young, I was in my 20s and I had a lot of mates around all the time. We were having parties at my place. We just moved into a house. Every weekend, there were people around. I shared the house with other people. Every weekend, there were 10, 15 people around before we go out to a nightclub or something like that. So Harley was very adjusted on, oh yeah, the boys are coming around. We're getting drunk, like it's going to be fucking great. Everyone's going to be in a really happy mood. And they were they knew what he was about. They knew he'd been trained. They knew he was into security. They knew he bit people. They knew he'd put people in hospital and he'd done all these things. But to them, he wasn't that dog. To them, he was just a dog that fucked around where we were inside. He was a dog that was humping my mates on the couch and we were all laughing. I wish we had videos to show people, like that would be Instagram reels these days. For me, I didn't know that shouldn't be like that or that there should be any other difference. To me, that was just Harley. I didn't really have an end goal. It was just an experimental thing. I just got into training. I wasn't raised in this area. I wasn't watching this stuff. There was no internet to watch this sort of stuff before. I didn't know all this was going to take place. I was just lucked into having an amazing dog. And please believe me when I say this, he wasn't perfect. I'm not trying to make him out to be like the most perfect dog with the best obedience and so forth. I pretty much made that caveat clear before. But what he was good at, he was fucking good at it. He was a great dog. He saved my life, seriously saved my life. He put himself in front of me when people were brawling and doing all sorts of shit on the street. But he also just fucked around with my friends on the weekend. He just had a great time. And then when I watched Moo and Nikki doing this with this dog over there, very well trained by Tommy over in the UK, they've taken this dog over. They're doing all the upkeep with him. To them, he's just a delightful family dog. He gets along with their other dogs. He gets along in their venues when people come over. But when it's time to put the suit on and do battle, that dog's like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're doing battle. Let me put everything into it from my arsehole to my nose and collapse you down on the field. Oh, now it's over. I'm just going back to a jovial old dog again. And I think for me is that's what I try and encourage people to have, is not try and raise a nightmare that you've got this dog that you're thinking, oh, I have to do something to stimulate him all the time. Like I have to be on guard all the time. I have to run my house like I've got to have almost this divinity of separation to try and keep the dog away from this and stop this from happening, because that's not really a life. That's a sentence. And you've sort of created a problem for yourself. And that's something that I've tried to encourage people. Caveat to that, that's not always possible. There aren't always possibilities of that scope when a dog doesn't have that balance in their life. Like some dogs just don't settle well. Some working dogs are full on and they're very intense, and it might be the genetics and it may be the prior training that they have. It could just be a level of fuckery with the dog. And I've seen those types of dogs before where I've had to go around to people's homes and they've said, Glenn, what would you do in this situation? I've got a very serious dog. He won't settle down. He's just like this. And I've said, well, he might have to be in an area outside where you just pen him up, like build him a kennel. Like Randy had a kennel. He just couldn't fucking settle inside. He just didn't know how to do it, and I put him outside and he was like, oh, I'm at peace. I'm happy. I've got a kennel with a complete outdoor system where I can come into my kennel. I can be shielded from all the weather and I can run outside. And it wasn't like he wasn't with me. He was pretty much with me every day of his life. The only times that I didn't see him is when I went on holidays or when I was working without him. But every other day, that dog was with me in some capacity. He was doing some form of training. Narelle would do some training with him. I would do some training with him. So he had complete fulfillment. But he just could not relax and settle in the house, because people used to say to me all the time, hey, why is Randy not in the house all the time? Because he just didn't settle, and he didn't understand how just to be calm in the house. When he came in the house, he would be in conflict with me and him and I would fight because he would jump, he would whine, he would run around, he couldn't contain himself. And I thought, what I would have to do to him to stop him doing this will crush the dog. It'll destroy a part of him and it will destroy a part of me because I'll end up shaving something off him that I want it to maintain. And then people hear that and they go, oh, you're a trainer, you should be able to manage this. I did. Exactly the way it should have been done. And this is the thing that I try and explain to people is when you're doing complete observation of a scenario, you've got to take everything into account. What is it that the dog really wants out of this? And if the dog, like anything that would move inside, he was just like, I'm on it. I need to be on it. Like I'm wired. I'm inside. I'm excited. And then people would say, but maybe that's something that you triggered in him. It wasn't. It was genetic. It was just something that was in Randy. You know, he produced that in some of his offspring as well. When he had a few litters of puppy, people who brought Randy puppies said, are they really go-y dogs? Like, are they just busy all the time? And not in a bad way, but just they're like the ultimate sticky nose? I said, yeah, that's exactly what Randy's like. He said he has to investigate every fucking thing that's going on. He just wants to be involved. He wants to know. And not in a bad way. He wasn't a bad dog. I'm not trying to paint him out like he was a bad dog. He was one of our most beloved dogs. I loved the shit out of Randy. I mean, you knew him well. He was probably 4 when you met him. He was the first shepherd in Australia to get a PSA title. There's so many.
I think he got the first one. I think he got the first title, didn't he?
No, he didn't get. He
didn't
get the first one. He got the first. He's the first shepherd to get a PSA title.
Okay.
So he'll never.
Yeah.
What I said to Emma with Monty, you know, like Monty got the first leg of PSA 1. I said, I hope you close this out because you'll be the first Rottweiler in Australia to get a proper PSA 1 title. And no matter what happens next, doesn't matter how. You know, like if anyone gets another one and goes beyond that, you'll still be the first one to get it. That's a thing that you can never lose from this point in time. And I would have loved Randy to go for it. Anyway, another story for another day. I've told that before. Point being to this, the excitement that I have around this and the thoughts that I have around this is you need to look at your total setup, your lifestyle, your dog's lifestyle, your wants, needs and wishes and your dog's wants, needs and wishes. And you need to take all that in consideration because I felt terrible putting Randy outside, but then when I observed him outside and how he was in nirvana, he just thought, oh, this is the best. Yeah. I'm having the best time. I'm in my area. I've got a whole huge backyard that I can go out and play in. I've got after hours, I can go and kick it down the field with running around and doing things on the property. When Pat and the boys are here, I get to go in the shed and do bitey shit. And that's pretty much the rest of his life until he was too old to do it. That's pretty much the life he lived until he died. That was a wonderful life. No regrets for me. He lived the ultimate life. And maybe I'm slightly off tangent on what you're talking about. I don't know. This is a process that comes up with me with conversations I have, but back to you.
Mate, I think you bring up something interesting about like that's who he is. I was having a similar conversation with someone recently, right? So got this new dog and trying to figure out who he is, right? Like, who are you? Like, what drives you? You know, what motivates you? Why do you think the way that you think about certain things? And I think one of the, certainly something that I haven't in the past understood anywhere near as well as I understand now is like some of the headache traits that we get in a dog, they're also the best traits. And if you stop the headache, you stop the best things as well. So like Randy, for example, right? Like you said that he always had a hard time settling. He wasn't the kind of dog that wanted to just chill out in the house and do nothing. He wanted to be outside. He wanted to be always active, which then that same trait is then a dog who's like, hey, teach me something. I want to do that. I want to learn.
Loved
like
it. He's so inquisitive for life.
Yeah, like a sort of a dopamine junkie in that way. And that like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like, I don't want what I have now. I want what I want next. And that can be a headache, right? Like that can be a pain in the ass dog to be around because they don't want to lay there and get pat. They don't want to stare into your eyes. They want to be like, let's do a thing. Let's go somewhere. Let's do a thing. I don't want to just be sitting here. And of course, like we want to spend time with our dog, like I want to sit on the couch, stare into your eyes and get that huge serotonin boost that comes from doing that. And some dogs are like, yeah, let's do that. That's what I want. That dog often then isn't the kind of dog that's like, yeah, now let's go train and let's teach me a bunch of stuff. Even when they're a high drive dog and they're into that, usually then they're more like possessive and wanting to sort of stay in what they're doing rather than be looking for what's next. I think as well, we see this in certain bloodlines of different dogs of like Sundance is an extremely possessive dog, like could be problematically so if it weren't managed correctly. if Jazz prior to me and now me didn't respect the level of possession that the dog has and the way that he feels about taking ownership of something, if you didn't respect that, you would enter into a massive amount of conflict with the dog, right? Like you would be at odds with the dog. And of course, could we change it? Could we not allow them to possess? Could we say to like, hey, you don't get to tell me what I can take from you? Like, yeah, could we do that? Yeah, of course we could, right? Like we could train that. But at what cost is the question, right? Because like that's a part of his personality is like, no, like these things are mine. And I can say like, hey, I don't like that trait in you. You don't possess things like that and try and cut that off. Or I can look at that and go, all right, man, I see you. Like I see what you're into. We're going to be real careful around you when you pick things up. We're going to be real careful about showing you like, I'm not your competitor for these sorts of resources. Because that same trait that allows you to possess things like that is going to turn your bite work into like just amazing monsterism. And it's similarly like if I cultivate that and I'm careful about how I do it and I show you that I like that you possess things because of the bloodline, and I've seen it play out in bad ways before, and I intend to try and make it play out in good ways, is like I can go, how about you possess this behavior? Like, how about you sort of take ownership of doing this thing? How about you sort of, instead of being like, oh, I've got the ball and I'm never giving it back, how about you go, I'm sitting and I'm never not sitting. And I can carry that emotional mindset, that thing that is a headache in some places. How do I carry that into places where I like it? We see this a lot, you know, with like, say, KMPV type dogs, like the amount of people that contact me, I went through, I had a bunch of people years ago, they were in the UK and they'd got some like, you know, serious bloodlines, like real KMPV dogs. And they're like, oh, my puppy's resource scouting in the house. It's like, yeah, no shit. It's like, yeah. like the bloodline of dog that you have is a very well-known resource guarding bloodline. Like, yeah, no shit, they're doing that. And like, how do I stop it? I'm like, you don't. You manage that. You be careful. You don't put yourself in a position where your dog has resources that it's going to guard from you. And like, no, I want to stop it. And you're like, well, then you don't have that dog. You may as well send that dog back. Because stopping that is going to create a different dog and it's not going to work the way that you want the dog to work. Like that is one of the key traits. Like, you know how in KMPV when they send the dog to find the box in the woods and then the dog stands on it barking? That's because he takes ownership of it and he's guarding it, right? Like, so you can teach that as a monkey drill, which some people do for sure. Or you can have a dog that's like, no, this is fucking mine and I've taken possession of it, and then does like really pronounced serious barking for it. So, and as I said to these people, like, you've got a great dog from a really good KMPV breeder. This dog is wonderful and will be incredible at the things you want it to do. But you can't be telling it like, hey, I really like that you're this, but I need you to be this, only be that in a different time. This same thing has been a conversation I've had quite a bit lately. The first time I ever had this conversation was with the Chief of Army, who went on to be the Australian of the Year, which it's one of the few petitions I've ever signed in my life was to take it from him because he was a total piece of shit and he like did everything bad for the army, but made it look like he did everything good. And it was right at the end of my career. And he was really hammering on saying there were all these cultural issues in special forces because there were a couple of guys who'd been done drink driving and all kinds of stuff. And as I said to him, and I know that I've said this on the podcast in the past, was that, you know, I've been at the school, I selected and trained guys to go into that job. And the key trait is a willingness to accept personal risk far beyond what a normal person thinks is acceptable. And so a person who is willing to accept that much risk to themselves in order to do this job is also going to fuck up in their personal life. Like you can't separate those two things. Like you can't be like, we need people who are going to be absolutely fearless in the face of like a battle. We need people who are going to jump out of planes, do all this kind of shit and put their personal safety at risk at a whim when we tell them to. We need people who can be injured and just keep going. Like, fuck you, I don't accept this injury. I'll block out this pain. I'll just keep going. That kind of person is likely to drink drive. That kind of person is likely to cheat on their missus. You know what I mean? Like that is the same behavioral trait of like, I don't think things through. I'm willing to take risks in the moment because it pleases me. that same trait, it creates them doing stupid shit elsewhere. And so like, yeah, we have a bunch of dudes that act that way, but that's how we have to live. Like, I'm not saying we let them off. Like, I'm not saying if someone gets caught drink driving and we go, oh, well, that's just who he is. He gets punished for that. But we can't be like saying, oh, we can't have anyone like that and kicking them out, because you're like, well, then there's no one left.
Yeah.
Like, we're a group of fucking crazy people who do crazy things. And I think that the exact same is true of dogs.
Yeah, that's a good example.
yeah.
And I think the answer to that is it's not about annihilation of it or the constant punishment of it. It's the management structure.
Exactly. Yes. And sort of as J. Jack would say, like this is the finding the surrogates, like when you've got these dogs that it's like, no, this is really important to me, is where you then go, okay, cool, man. Like I get that, but you can't do it. But this is similar. Does this spin the dial for you?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you're not allowed to fight other dogs, but you can bite this spring pole. Does that feel like something you'd like to do? Like, hey, you're not allowed to drag me down the street, but you can pull this cart full of weights, like that kind of shit where you're like, I see this as a thing that is necessary to you. And this is the personality trait that you have. I want that. I like that. I want to try and funnel that into the things that are now possible because you have that trait, you have that level of drive, you have whatever. But I have to accept, like, this is not a thing that exists in isolation. Now, of course, you get the odd dog where it is. You get the odd dog that you can just turn on, turn off, like you're talking about with that dog Bullet. But similarly, like, I'm sure a lot of fucking work went into that.
Yeah.
By the guys like, there's a lot of work. And sometimes that work's not possible, right? Like, sometimes it can be done. Sometimes it can't be done. And sometimes I think, to be more specific, using your example, like, you're an incredible trainer. No one disputes that. You achieved incredible things with Randy. And when you look at him, you go like, I've made the choice not to put him in those situations, because like, could you have, if you wanted him to be your inside the house, stays on the placemat dog, could you have done that? Yeah, you could do it, but at what cost?
That's some point that you have to get into that mentality of, what am I taking from this dog to do this? And I could see the pain in his eyes for it. Like, there are times where I made him do it and I could see his pupils dilated. They full fucking dilated. He didn't sit there in a restful state where my other dogs would. Mando will get on that fucking bed and like, he's at peace about that. He goes, oh, this is a fucking lovely thing to do. I'm happy to be here. Completely different dogs. Randy would his eyes look like dishpans. He sat there because that wasn't winding him down. That was fucking winding him up. Funnily enough, and as I've stipulated before, at night he would come in and go into his crate and he loved it and he looked forward to it. He couldn't wait. Like, if it was a cold night and it wasn't, like it wasn't a nice night outside, he would race to get into his crate and he couldn't wait, and he'd fucking instantly just settle and go to sleep. Just boom, and he'd be lights out and going to sleep. But if he'd come inside, he'd be jumping across the couches. He'd be jumping on top of the fucking coffee lounge. And people would say to him, like I said.
It's options, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's options.
That's the thing is, and you asked this question before, and it's such an important one, mate. The question of, who are you? We raised that in a way earlier episode where I was talking about Kung Fu Panda. His mentor, Oogway, the turtle or tortoise or whatever he was, his philosophy was just brilliant. And he used to ask that question. You need to find out and you need to discover who you are. Going into that, I think it was Kung Fu Panda 3, and he was sort of looking at his reflection. He kept like, who am I? And he just couldn't come up with the solution to that until he finally worked out, I'm not just one thing. I'm the sum of many things that I've done in my life, the sum of many feelings, the sum of many different people who raised me and lessons that I've learned. And it's a culmination of an understanding that you need to come to terms with not only yourself, but also the dog that you bring into your lifestyle. And that's why I think you raising that before, it's a topic that you just can't gloss over and just go, oh, we'll get to that later. It's something that you've got to reevaluate considerably along your timeline with your dog and with yourself. Like, you're saying, all right, who are you today? Let's not worry about next week because the future is unwritten. We don't know about this. This is where we're going. This is the guide that I have, but that's only written in pencil. That's not texted in because I have no fucking control over what happens in 1 week. I might be dead. The dog might have died. I don't know. Terrible things to think of course, but the future is only a wish. It's not real until it's a great guide. I'm not saying don't plan for it, but I'm just saying be ready to modulate that, be ready to modify that, be ready to change whatever's going on in that circle, because you just do not know. What you do know is what we're doing right here and today to prepare myself for this outcome. This is what I've got to do to get there. I know that. I've had past experiences with other dogs or clients that I've trained or mentors that I've worked with. I know this is what we've got to do. I know that there's a plan. I know that there's other people who've taught me other things. I know that there's fuckery that my dog is going to throw at me that I've just got to be ready for. And I've got to not be taking a back foot on it, but just sidestep and go, all right, that wasn't in the plan. Let's rewrite the plan. And that's where you say, see, future, I'm ready for you. I'm ready to bring it to you. And I know that I have to now change the timeline on how it looks, but I'm ready. I'm coming for you. But I'm going to do it today. It's only going to happen today. And it's only the past that teaches you how to prepare for the future.
It's not a conversation you see much like in the pet dog space of like, who is your dog? Like really getting to understand like what's important to them. And rather than just like a dog is this,
Well, people don't care, mate. The episode we did last week, I love to reflect on last week's episode because I re-listened to them just to hear that the editing went well. When I listen to them and we're talking about those sort of things, people try and change their dogs to reflect their lifestyle because the most important thing in their life is them. So they're saying to the dog, I want you to be like me. I want you to make my life more comfortable. I want people to compliment you so I feel good about that. Again, I'm not trying to yuck your yum. If that's things that you need to happen in your life, you do you. You're the boss of your life and everything will be good. But what I am saying is a lot of these people then have questions. Why is my dog doing this? Why won't he do that? Yeah. And it is, mate, it's such an important point. You got to care more about those sort of things. You got to care more about saying to your dog, all right, mate, you're an individual. You do have a brain. You're not just a vehicle that I'm parking in my garage. You do have a brain. You have, a nervous system and you have thoughts and big feelings about things. What are those thoughts? What are those big feelings? And how do we, like, if we're going to share a life together for the next 12 to 15 years, hopefully, how do we manifest those together that we run on a parallel with each other and we don't sort of annoy the shit out of each other to the point where we don't like each other anymore?
The other day on Facebook, I saw it was some dickhead, but he had this post AI made really shitting on Caesar Milan, right?
I think I saw that. I think I saw it.
Yeah, like he was really shitting on Caesar. And Caesar was just on Andrew Huberman. And so I didn't listen to it. I haven't listened to it. And I don't think that Caesar is an amazing dog trainer. He's a dogman for sure, right? Like he's a dogman, but I don't know that he's an amazing trainer, but I don't think that's his thing. And one of the things that's really interesting, like it kind of blows my mind is when you see dog trainers, like people who do in-home behavior mod, shitting all over Caesar Milan. And you're like, hey man, you might not like the way Caesar does things, but the very fact that your job exists is largely because of him. Caesar Milan normalized the idea of getting someone into your home to fix a problem with the dog. Before that show, that was a peculiar
and
thing.
Using
like,
punishment.
Of course, dog trainers, yeah, but of course, dog training existed, but mostly it was like go to the group class, or it was join the training group, or go to the facility, whatever it was. And a lot of people then, they have this headache dog that they're like, okay, well, into the yard for 15 years you go, right? And we just live these parallel lives of tolerating and being frustrated with each other, but never actually coming together because the dog has, is not aligning correctly. And so much of because I watched a lot of Caesar Milan before I was even like into dogs. Like it's an entertaining show. Not that I've watched like all of it, but I've seen plenty of it. One of the criticisms of Caesar is that he uses punishment. Like, yep, okay, so does everybody that can train dogs effectively. But I think one of the things that this person was carrying on about the other day is all he actually does is make dogs tired, right? So like, the dog's chewing up the couch and all he does is make it tired. And I'm like, that's what you do? You've got kind of three options, right? Okay, the dog's chewing up cushions. Right, okay. So we can do a whole bunch of fucking bullshit differential of other things. Like we can start like paying the dog for not looking at the cushions and do all of this food bullshit. And the dog's still going to rip up the cushions one day when he gets bored, right? You can just punish a dog for ripping up the cushions. Yep. And then that's what punishment is. It'll stop the dog ripping up cushions. Or you could do a bit of both of those things and then you could let the dog rip something else up. Like you could then go play tug with the dog and wear that dog out and expire that desire for the dissection at the end of the predatory chase sequence, right? Like you let him like, hey, experience some of the rest of it. You want to have some control conflict with me in the fight part of it and not just tear things apart, and show the dog like, hey, we can tick that box for you, but in a way that is good for us both. And we can both be happy about it at the back end of it. But like I said, I'm not saying that I think Caesar's like the pinnacle of dog training, but I hardly think that us as dog trainers should be shitting on Caesar. Like I think that he is a person who has created opportunities for all of us. In fact, all of us should probably send him $1 every year, right? To be like, hey, thank you for the heat that you took and the channel that you've burst open, the pathways that you've created for other people who, not just for us as industry people who now get to go into people's homes and do the work, but the people who now go like, it's normalized and they go, oh, cool. There's a person I can get. Like that's a thing I can do. I can get a person out to my house who will teach me how to live with this dog in a way where me and the dog get along better and can be more dog. And so it was kind of wild to me that it just shows the arrogance of people when they're shitting all over Caesar. Like you can not like his training, that's fine. But to be like, he's the worst person. You're like, no, mate, he's a cornerstone person. We're all like, he's a very important person to us all. But as I said, like I think what Caesar did through however many episodes of that show is show people like, hey, your dog has needs. He's got dog stuff that he needs to do. And you need to be able to facilitate that. I think there's an episode I remember watching where he goes like rollerblading with the dog. So like these people have this dog that's like the dog's a headache in many ways. And so he goes rollerblading with it and it just drags him around on the rollerblades and then he's no longer a headache. And the criticism, people like, oh, all he did was make the dog tired. And you're like, yeah, no shit, but nobody else had done that. Like that was the problem, right? Like the dog's needs were not met in any way. And now the dog's needs are met. And the dog is not going to be a headache because actually the problem was he was, through his headache behavior, was him saying like, hey, I am not being looked after, right? You can love a dog as much as you want. That's not looking after it, right? Like you can be like, oh, I love him. He's my special baby. But if you don't do the things, like love is a doing word, right? Like go and do the fucking things that allow this dog to have the loving life that you keep claiming that you're giving to it. But to me, like I think that that's very often missing from the dog world now. And we're very often into behaviorism. I'm sure that I would have mentioned this at one point in the past, but when I went to Michael Ellis's school, I was at like peak Dunning-Kruger. Now, like there's an argument, I'm still there. We probably all are in one way or another. But I was at peak Dunning-Kruger where I was like, I knew fuck all, but thought I knew plenty. And there was a lady in my class and she asked Mike something. I can't remember what it was, but she asked him something. And he kind of was like, like that might just be kind of who that dog is. Like, I'm not sure that that's something you can change. And I remember sitting there going like, oh, doesn't think it can be changed. Like, that's an easy, like I know about operant conditioning. I know that you can just reinforce things that you like and you can just punish things that you don't like. And you can alter and change any behavior that you want. And like, thank fuck I didn't say that out loud. But like the idea that you can just create and punish anything, like that is outrageous, right? Like for sure, you can punish a dog for doing whatever you want and maybe you reduce the frequency of it. But if it's like certain behaviors, 2 years later, Mother Nature is going to whisper in that dog's ear, like, fuck that, do it. You just got to do it, right? Or like there's certain behaviors that you can create, you can reinforce the shit out of them. And the dog will do them. But the moment you stop reinforcing it, the dog's not doing it anymore. You know, like the dog's not like, this is just a monkey drill that the dog is doing to earn the food or the toy or whatever. Like you haven't created any love into the game. And so I think that's the piece that's missing so much from the interactions we have with our clients is the like, hey, who is this dog? And what is this dog like feel about its life, the people that are in it, what are its needs, how is it motivated, what does it think is important, how do you work within that, and how do you fulfill the dog so that these needs that the dog have are met and don't get met in some weird way that you don't like. Like I think that's what's really important in that client interaction. Doing the in-home stuff is like, hey, this dog has needs and those needs have to be met. There's no way around that, right? Like the dog is going to meet these needs. He's going to find a way. Like I say, you can either let him rip up the pillows or you can play tug with the dog because one of those things is happening. No, I'm not doing that. It's too hard. I'm just going to put him in the yard. Okay, well, he's going to rip down the trees. He's going to do all the things because Whether you like it or not, that dog is biting something and trying to damage it. So you can create a situation where you go, hey, here is the opportunity to bite the thing and try and steal it from me or whatever. Or the dog is going to do that at a time of its own choosing, and you can just watch that unfold. Like, it is going to happen and there's no way out of that. Oh, no, I can punish it. Well, for a little bit. But then you've got a chronically unhappy dog, and it's going to come back with a vengeance later on as well. So that's my sort of take on it. Like, and when I saw that post, it sort of, you've triggered me to remember it, but just thinking about like fulfilling your dog's needs, knowing between spaces, is when people shitting on Caesar for like, it doesn't even do any dog training. All he does is make dogs tired. I'm like, yeah, but often that's what dogs need, right? Like that's actually the thing that they're not getting, is not just being made tired, but being fulfilled in a way that then they feel complete. And like often that's what an uneducated person in that space would say. Like, no, he's not tired. Like you look at a Malinois just finished bite work. He's not tired. Like in 2 minutes, he's ready to go again. Like he's recovered from that and he could do all that stuff again. He's not tired. He's fulfilled. He's content. He's happy. And those to the uneducated person can look like the same thing, but they're different things. Like that is a dog who is like, no, I've done it. Like I've achieved it. I feel amazing about what I've done just then. Not a dog who's like, oh gosh, I'm sleepy. I want to go to bed. It's a dog who's like, no, there's no more for me to do. I feel really good about that.
Reminds me of something. Hearing you talking about that, there's so many good points there. The first one I wanted to address was that people like Cesar Millan, mate, if you and I were anywhere near as famous as he was, for all the good that we try and do and all the things that you try and help people out and all the free time that you give people, there's still going to be like hordes of people who's going to disagree with you and legions of people who are going to shit on you. I mean, there was people shit-mouthing you and me in Melbourne the other week, which a friend of mine was telling me about. And they're people that I've never met before, and I'm pretty sure you've never met before. They're just new up-and-coming trainers in the world. They've probably heard a couple of episodes and they're just having big thoughts and feelings. And I thought, I didn't even know these people. Welcome to the industry. But yeah, good for you. That's nice. The other thing with people like Cesar Millan and other people who are doing shows and so forth, what people don't realize is that they're making content and they've got a team of writers and producers that are going, do this. This is something that makes people get on edge or gets big feelings. Like we need ratings, even though you might not agree with it. To keep all that cheddar flowing in, you've got to make it a little bit controversial. So unfortunately, when you get into those sort of realms, when you're running TV shows and so forth, it's not to say that he didn't do amazing stuff and inspired people and helped a career and corrected a philosophy that needed to be corrected. But there are people in those industries who are just saying, mate, you've got to sell your soul. You've got to do things that you're not comfortable doing, and you've got to work against a philosophy that you've been maintaining in your early years, because now it's all about entertainment. You need to entertain people. This is a coliseum. You've got to entertain the masses. You've got to do something outrageous. You've got to feed a fucking Christian to a lion or something like that in front of a whole arena. And that's what happens when people are on TV. And that's what people don't realize about celebrity dog trainers is after a period of time when the content needs to be upgraded, there's people who are saying, hey, mate, if you want to get your paycheck next week, you have to do something pretty fucking wild. You know, like you have to pull a rabbit out of your hat because ratings are dipping and otherwise we'll cancel the show. That's the sad part of it. And that's the real part of entertainment is that you've got a bunch of demons behind you fucking cooking you, because while you're making money, they're making big money on top of you making money. They're the ones that are saying, if you want to stay famous, if you want to keep a hold on this, you have to do all this fucking horrible shit. That's an unfortunate side of that. The other thing which made me laugh, it reminded me of a long, long time ago, just a stage in my life where I was getting fucking massive anxiety and I couldn't sleep properly at night. And there was just a lot going on in my life. You know, a lot of people in my life were saying, oh, do this and do that. And, you know, like it was funny. They were trying to be helpful. They were giving me advice and all the advice wasn't helping me. Didn't help. I couldn't sleep. I literally couldn't close my eyes. I was exhausted all the time. And I had this Russian mate who I used to work out with. And I was at the gym with him and I was sitting there and my eyes were hanging out of my head and I said, he goes, what's wrong? And I said, mate, I can't fucking sleep. I've got anxiety. And he goes, what do you mean you can't sleep? And I said, I can't sleep. I'm sitting in bed at night with my eyes open, and all these thoughts coming into here. So he goes, get your fucking lazy ass out of bed and start lifting the weights, you piece of shit. And I thought about it. I thought, you uncaring bastard. Like, here's everyone else like being all helpful. And I acted on his advice. I was in bed, and I'm not saying this works for everyone. So if you hear me saying this and going, oh, you're making light of something that's serious, it just worked for me. I got out of bed. I went and cranked weights. I was fucking exhausted. I wasn't thinking about anything. I hopped into bed. Lights went out. I fell straight to sleep. And it reminded me of what you were talking about before, because there's a lot of times where people think they're giving helpful advice, and sometimes people are just talking to add something to the conversation. They're not actually doing anything that is of real benefit. They just think, I just want to throw something in the ring. I just want to seem like I care. And it's not that they're bad people, they're doing awful things or all of those considerations. None of that is making them a bad person, but they're not giving you good, sound advice because they don't really know what the problem is. And again, it relates earlier to that question that you started much of this conversation off is, who are you? What is going through your head? What do you feel is wrong? Like, how do we find some form of correction to this? Me not being able to sleep, lying in bed and thinking about things and then adrenalizing and making it worse, it was only feeding my anxiety. It wasn't until my mate, he was just a hard old guy, and he just said to me, don't listen to all these fucking sissies. Get out of bed, go for a run, do something. And I thought, what a piece of shit, like saying that to me. Mate, it fucking worked. It was the best advice I had. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how transformative it was. Now, for people suffering mental health, I'm not just saying getting up and exercising is going to like magically, but it can't hurt. Seriously, it can't hurt. Like going to the gym and lifting some weights and doing a bit of cardio, it actually does help you. It can't hurt you. You can still try that. It's not going to, I'm not saying it's going to cure you, but it did fucking help me. It helped me get over a slump. And there have been times where I've seen people do the same sort of thing that you were talking about before, when even you're saying people are poo-pooing Caesar about it, when they've taken their dogs out, when they've considered that maybe a good long walk, maybe a run up a hill will help me and the dog, because I'm certainly frustrated with the dog. I'm at a point where I could kill this dog for the fucking all the shenanigans that it keeps doing. And suddenly you think, holy shit, the dog comes home and goes, oh, I'm tired. I need a nap. Get away from me. And you're thinking, oh my God, it worked. And you're just thinking, this is the best. Isn't what we're doing, if you think about life, isn't what we're trying to do is have a net positive solution to the problems that we have in our life, trying to reduce them or make them go away altogether? Like, isn't that what we tell people in behavioral science? What we're trying to do is reduce or eliminate those toxic or shitty behaviors. And then when you're doing them and you've got people out there who are poo-pooing them, and why would you take advice of those people anymore? I've actually been in the circle of people where I can hear them telling me these things and saying, yeah, I'm not coming to you for advice anymore. I might come to you for a laugh because you're a funny idiot, but I'm certainly not going to take sound life advice off you because you're giving me the opposite advice on what I need. And I actually have friends like that. When they give me advice about things, I do the opposite and I'm happier for it.
Oh, dear.
There is one other point that I wanted to raise on this, on speaking with people when I'm talking to them about lesson planning and problems that they're having. And one of the reoccurring issues that I find that people have is the application of pressure, the right amount of pressure, the pressure that's actually going to make the problem go away. Mate, I have been on so many lessons and board and train issues and so forth where people have said to me, oh, this dog is doing this. You know, what do you think? Or my dog is doing this. We can't manage this behavior when we get into these applications. And it is a pressure problem. It's about not applying enough pressure or trying to apply pressure when the dog is already under too much load, when the dog can't actually feel it, see it, sense it, or be able to manage and cope with it. So it's a pressure management structure as well.
Yep. I agree with that for sure. That's probably a whole episode.
That is probably a whole episode. Yeah. We can
yeah, let's talk about that another time, because that's one of the things I think is really interesting is like understanding the cumulative effects of pressure. You know?
Oh, definitely.
And I think, yeah, let's do that next time.
Okay.
All right. Hey, that's it. Another episode.
We did it.
As always, if you like what you hear, like, rate, share, subscribe. Do that through whatever subscription service you download us from, and then go somewhere else and do it there. No one checks. You can do it anywhere you want. If you want to support the show, best way to do that is Patreon. A few bucks a month gets you a giant backlog of information as well as new stuff going forward. But there's all different kind of tiers. You can give us as much money as you like. That's what keeps the show going, buys us all of the equipment that we need, pays for all our hosting and all that kind of stuff. So
and
we really appreciate you.
Incredible tax bill that never stops coming.
Yeah, thanks, Australian government.
Yeah.
It's wild. You could buy T-shirts too. There's links in the show notes to this Springs where you could buy some merch of ours.
That hasn't happened in a long time. There's not many T-shirts or merch moving.
Yeah.
I looked at the other day because I thought,
we need to do something.
I looked at it the other day and I thought, I wonder how Teespring's going. I've been lazy. I actually gone on to see if there's any merch sold, and I think we got $70 over the last 4 months or something. So
right.
Not much is happening in there.
We're killing it.
Yeah, we're not balling with the fucking merch at the moment.
We need a merch drop. We need something new.
Yep.
That's what we need. All right, so check that out. If you want to get in touch with us, best way to do that is jump in the Facebook discussion group. It's called the Canine Paradigm discussion group on Facebook. It's where we search for information. It's where we post stuff. It's kind of the only part of Facebook where I'm very active. But if you want to get in touch with us directly, you can shoot us an email. I've got access to the email again, so I'll get to see it. We've had some email problems.
And I fixed it on the website too. So somebody told you that there was a recapture issue. I got rid of that. I fixed the website issue. Perfect. If they try and send us email through the website, it works.
Amazing. All right. So do that. Get in touch with us. But other than that, see you all out there. Love you. Goodbye.
Remember the old days where I used to hate fucking around during the music and everything like that?
Yeah. You're like, shut up, it's special music.